After landing a $50 million contract that literally saved our company, my boss announced an immediate team overhaul. "We need people with elite degrees from now on," he declared, giving a quick glance at my state college diploma. I simply thanked him for the opportunity and left without any protest. That very morning, right before the client meeting, a heated remark rang out. "Don't you dare take credit for Martha's work again." I froze by the conference room door, clutching my files tightly, as anxiety churned inside me. "You don't know what you're talking about," Danielle said in a disturbingly calm tone. "I've been nurturing the Synex relationship for months." "Martha is just executing my plan," retorted Philip. Taking a deep breath, I pushed my way into the room. All eyes turned to me, Philip, ever loyal with his rumpled blazer, and Danielle Fulton, our newly promoted vice president of sales, stunning in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Martha, perfect timing," Philip said, relief evident in his voice. "Tell her who actually created the Synex pitch deck. My name is Martha Ellison. I'm 32. And for the past 6 years I've climbed the ranks at Orion Tech Solutions in Cincinnati, Ohio. We specialize in logistics software for transportation companies. Nothing glamorous, but it's the backbone that keeps goods moving nationwide. I began as a junior sales associate and fought my way up to business development manager with sheer grit and consistent results. My Ohio University diploma hangs modestly in my cubicle, a far cry from the elite institutions many of our executives tout. Danielle never let me forget that. We were reviewing the Synex presentation when Danielle remarked coolly, as if Philip hadn't been shouting just moments before. "I need your notes by the end of the day so I can polish everything." I met her gaze steadily and replied, "Actually, Danielle, the presentation is already done. The whole deck is built around a customized supply chain solution I developed just for their multimodal needs." She countered, "I need to scrutinize it. Losing this deal, our largest yet at $50 million over 5 years, is not an option." I nodded, silently aware of the stakes. What she didn't know was that I had been chasing Synex Holdings for nearly a year. Endless early mornings, late nights, and weekends spent understanding their challenges, crafting the perfect solution and building trust. I even flew to their Detroit headquarters 4 times. Each trip got me one step closer to sealing what could be a career-defining deal. On our way back to our desks, Philip warned, "She's trying to push you out of the final meeting. You know it, right?" I sighed and said, "Let her try. Tasha Brennan won't sign off unless I'm in the room." What neither Danielle nor anyone at Orion Tech knew was that Tasha, the CEO of Synex Holdings, was once my college roommate. We shared a cramped apartment for 2 years, surviving on ramen and all-night study sessions. We still catch up for brunch whenever she's in town. I never abused our friendship to win the deal. That would have been unprofessional, but it definitely helped me get a foot in the door. Returning to my desk, I noticed an email from our CEO summoning me to an executive meeting the next day. A chill ran down my spine. Something told me this wouldn't be about a promotion. The executive boardroom always made me uneasy. The polished mahogany table, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Cincinnati, and the subtle scent of lemon polish and authority. I straightened my off-the-rack blazer and took my seat at the far end, painfully aware that I was the only one without an Ivy League pedigree. Our CEO, Jonathan Pierce, sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable behind steel-rimmed glasses. Danielle sat to his right with her portfolio open, while 3 other executives in nearly identical navy suits filled the rest of the room. "Martha, thank you for joining us," Jonathan began. Danielle interjected, "Jonathan, she's made significant progress with Synex Holdings." I replied, pulling out my notes, "Yes, we're in the final stages. They have verbally committed to the full package and are due to sign next week. $50 million over 5 years with an option to renew." Jonathan leaned forward, fingers interlaced. "That's excellent work. It would be the largest contract in Orion Tech's history. Thank you." A spark of pride warmed my chest. It was a team effort, but I'm proud of where we stand. Then Danielle added, "But we're worried about Synex's enterprise-level demands going forward." I frowned and explained, "I built the entire proposal around their enterprise infrastructure. The implementation plan answers every technical concern raised by their IT team." "Nevertheless," Danielle continued smoothly, "managing a client of this magnitude requires a certain finesse. My stomach sank. I had witnessed this maneuver before. Danielle stepping in after I had done all the heavy lifting. I have been managing this relationship for nearly a year, I said carefully. Tasha Brennan herself requested that I lead the implementation. Danielle's smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course, your foundational work is impeccable, Martha. But I could see it in the glances shared among the executives and the way Jonathan avoided meeting my eyes. We need to ensure that this flagship account gets our top talent. I'll take over the final negotiations. 6 years of loyalty, sacrifice, and dedication were nearly encapsulated in that moment. Is there an issue with my performance? I asked bluntly. Finally, Jonathan looked at me. Not at all, you've exceeded expectations. But as we grow, we must enhance the image we present to high-value clients. Danielle has experience working with Fortune 500 accounts that you simply don't. His eyes briefly darted toward my Ohio University diploma, now bundled in a box at my feet. Danielle leaned in. We're offering a generous severance. 3 months' salary with benefits plus a letter of recommendation. I replied coolly, how thoughtful, as bitterness seeped into my tone. My face flushed with anger and humiliation, realizing that 6 years of hard work had been reduced to a courtesy goodbye package. The head of HR, a woman I barely knew, slid the folder toward me. All details are here. Return your badge and laptop before you leave today. I scanned each face for any hint of genuine regret or acknowledgement of what I had built. There was none, just uncomfortable avoidance and a desire to quickly move on. Thank you for the opportunity, I said with as much dignity as I could manage, gathering my things without any dramatic farewell. Philip lingered nearby, his expression a blend of outrage and sympathy. This is insane after everything you've done, he muttered. I wrapped my Ohio University diploma carefully in tissue paper. It's fine, Philip, I replied, though inwardly I knew it wasn't. You landed a $50 million deal, and now they're firing you before the ink's dry. You should fight this. I met his concerned gaze with a calm smile and said, they've made their choice, just wait until Monday morning. That Monday at 9:30 a.m., I sat in my apartment in yoga pants, sipping coffee and browsing job listings. My phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. About to enter the Lion's Den, wish you were here. Brunch this weekend to celebrate. I smiled and texted back. Absolutely, good luck today. Call me after. What Tasha didn't know, and what I hadn't told her, was that I wouldn't attend the meeting. I purposely left out my termination during our brief call over the weekend. Some might say it was calculated, but I preferred to let events unfold naturally. Almost immediately, Tasha texted back. Of course. Can't wait to work with you on this. I set my phone down, trying to ignore the tight knot in my stomach. Part of me felt guilty for not warning her, while another part wanted Orion Tech to face the fallout of their decision. Meanwhile, across town in the sleek Orion Tech conference room, Danielle was meticulously preparing the presentation materials for what was touted as the company's most important signing. Jonathan was likely there early, all set to claim credit for the acquisition, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. At 10:15 a.m., Philip's call lit up my phone. Martha, oh my God, he exclaimed as soon as I answered. You are not going to believe what just happened. Try me, I shot back, setting my coffee mug aside. Tasha Brennan strode into the conference room, scanned the area, and immediately demanded, Where's Martha? Danielle attempted to explain that I'd been let go, but Brennan interrupted sharply. If Martha isn't part of this, we need to revisit the contract immediately. I closed my eyes, replaying the scene in my mind. What did Jonathan do? He dove into damage control, talking about team synergy, how they valued my work, and the need for a new strategic direction. Complete bull. Brennan wasn't having it. She stated that she'd made it clear from the start. My role was the reason Cinex considered Orion Tech, and without me, the deal needed a full reevaluation. A small, vindictive part of me relished the thought of Danielle's smug expression crumbling. Then what happened? I asked. They're in Jonathan's office now. Absolute chaos out here, Martha. Danielle is having a meltdown, practically dialing legal to see if she can force Cinex to honor the verbal agreement. There isn't any legal footing, I explained calmly. I made sure the formal contract wasn't signed before my departure. How did you know this would happen? Philip demanded. I hesitated, then admitted. Tasha's been my college roommate for over a decade. We've been friends through thick and thin. There was a long pause as Philip, clearly stunned, finally said with awe in his voice, "They never bothered to ask. They saw my state school diploma and assumed I couldn't possibly have valuable connections. So what now?" That was the question I'd been wrestling with all weekend. Part of me wanted to watch Orion Tech implode without the Synex deal. Yet my professional side, after 6 years of dedication, couldn't simply walk away. "It depends on what they do next," I answered honestly. I didn't have to wait long for an update. Within an hour my phone exploded with calls. 3 missed calls from Danielle, 2 from Jonathan, and a text from the head of HR. All sounding increasingly panicked and overly polite. I let them stew for another hour before finally answering Jonathan's 4th call. "Martha," he said, a note of relief in his voice, "we need to talk." I replied evenly, "I'm listening. It seems there's been a misunderstanding with Synex. Miss Brennan believes you're crucial to the deal." "That's not a misunderstanding, Jonathan, that's a fact." There was a long silence. I could almost picture Jonathan pinching the bridge of his nose and removing his glasses, the gesture he made when negotiations weren't going his way. "Perhaps we moved too quickly on Friday," he finally said. "We'd like to discuss having you come back to oversee the Synex implementation." I couldn't help but laugh. "You fired me 3 days ago because I don't have an Ivy League degree. And now you want me back because you're about to lose $50 million? Jonathan began to protest, but I cut him off. "It is exactly that. Let's not pretend otherwise." After another long pause he asked, "What would it take for you to come back and save this deal?" I'd spent the entire weekend mulling over that very question. Initially, spurred by anger and hurt, I'd thought of demanding an outrageous salary, a vice president title, maybe even a public apology from Danielle. But as the sting faded, I realized I wasn't interested in returning to a company that discarded me so easily. No amount of money or status could fix that broken trust. "Nothing," I said firmly. "I'm not coming back." "Everyone has a price," Jonathan insisted. "Name yours." "Vice president? Equity?" He pressed. "This isn't about money or titles, it's about respect. What you showed me on Friday revealed exactly how little you value my contributions." I interrupted, my voice rising despite my best efforts to stay calm. "You fired me days before closing the biggest deal in our history because my diploma wasn't from an Ivy League school. That isn't a transition, it's plain elitism." The line went dead for a long moment before Jonathan spoke, his tone now stripped of its usual polish. "Tasha Brennan is threatening to walk away. We're talking about a $50 million deal here, Martha. The board is calling an emergency meeting this afternoon. That seems like a problem for you and Danielle and your elite degrees to solve," he added. I was startled to detect genuine desperation in his voice. "Come to the meeting. Name your terms, whatever you want." I thought of Tasha in that conference room defending me in my absence, all the late nights I'd put in, and the subtle digs at my state school credentials. I remembered how less qualified people with fancier pedigrees had been rewarded time and again. "I'll think about it," I finally said, not ready to slam the door completely. "But know this, if Tasha says the deal depends on me, then it does." I hung up before he could respond. My heart pounded and the phone rang again immediately, but I let it go to voicemail. Then a text came from Tasha. "These people are unbelievable. They fired you after everything you did to land this account. I'm pissed. Call me, you sap." I couldn't help but smile and quickly returned her call. Upon answering, Tasha exclaimed, "Martha, what the hell happened?" I explained. "Why didn't you tell me they let me go?" She replied, "I wanted to see if they'd own up to it or try to hide it. They tried to spin some restructuring and strategic vision nonsense, but I wasn't buying it. Their arrogance is astounding. As if I wouldn't notice you were gone." I thanked her quietly. "Thank you for standing up for me." "Of course," she said firmly. "You're the main reason we even considered Orion Tech. Their solution isn't the best on the market, but you made me believe it could work for our needs." I hesitated before asking the question that had been nagging at me. "So what now with the contract?" Tasha's voice then turned sharp and decisive, reminiscent of our college days when she made important decisions without hesitation. "It all comes down to you. If you want me to walk away from Orion Tech completely, I will. But I have another idea. If you're interested. I pressed. I'm listening. Do you remember Gregory Wilson? He was a year ahead of us in economics. He started Wilson Enterprise Solutions 5 years ago. A direct competitor to Orion Tech with a more innovative edge. They've been trying to meet with you for months. I sat up straighter, suddenly realizing her direction. Greg is hunting for a new business development director. Someone who really understands logistics software and has solid industry connections. You want me to go work for a direct competitor? I asked, my mind whirling with possibilities. I want you to interview with them, Tasha clarified. What happens next is up to you and Greg. And yes, if you take the job and their solution fits our needs, I'm very interested in exploring a partnership. Everything clicked into place at once. I could leave Orion Tech, take Synex with me, and show them exactly what they threw away. A perfectly clean, professional, and ethical revenge. Send me Greg's contact information, I decided. I'll reach out today. Tasha immediately texted it to me, adding, he's expecting your call. 3 hours later, I found myself sitting in a downtown cafe across from Gregory Wilson, founder and CEO of Wilson Enterprise Solutions. He was younger than I'd imagined, barely 40, and his energy was infectious, like someone who'd built something from nothing. Tasha speaks very highly of you, he remarked after our pleasantries. You're the most client-focused person she's ever worked with. I believe in relationships over transactions, I replied. Technology evolves, but trust remains constant. For the next hour, we delved into discussions about his company, my background, and the current state of the logistics software market. Unlike my past interviews at Orion Tech, Gregory never once questioned my educational background. He was entirely result-oriented. Here's the situation, he said, leaning forward. We may be a smaller player than Orion Tech, but we're growing fast. Our technology is superior, more adaptable, cloud-native with a better user interface. What we lack is someone who can open doors to the right enterprise clients, someone with real industry connections. I nodded. Frankly, Martha, I want to poach you. I'm offering you our business development director position. Report directly to me, full control over client strategies, equity in the company, and a salary that'll make Orion Tech's best offer look like chump change. I raised my eyebrows. That's quite a proposition. Gregory shrugged. I invest in talent. And based on what Tasha tells me, you're exactly what we need. Orion Tech's mistake is our gain. For the first time since Friday, a genuine smile lit up my face. I like your style, Greg. When do you need an answer? Right now if you'd like, he challenged, eyes twinkling. I laughed. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I need to see a formal offer first. I'm definitely interested. Fair enough, he said, rising and extending his hand. I'll have it over to you by the end of the day. I'm looking forward to working with you, Martha. As we shook hands, my phone buzzed with another call from Jonathan. I silenced it without a glance, prompting Gregory to ask, Problem? I replied confidently, Not anymore. By the time I got home, I had 7 missed calls from Orion Tech executives, 3 voicemails begging for a meeting, and an email from Danielle that was almost comically desperate. I deleted them all and opened the formal offer. The compensation package left me speechless. My base salary was doubled, there was significant equity, a signing bonus, and even a relocation allowance if I wanted it. Most importantly, the title and authority promise were exactly what I deserved. I deserved it, so I signed the offer immediately and emailed it back. Then I called Tasha. It's done. I'm starting at Wilson next Monday. Perfect, she replied, her satisfaction shining through her voice. I just emailed Orion Tech to formally withdraw from further contract discussions. How did they take it? I asked. Like they'd been hit by a truck, she replied. Jonathan even hinted they might pursue legal action. I couldn't help but snort. On what grounds? You never signed anything. Exactly what I told him. I added that we were already exploring other options that better fit our strategic vision. Let me guess, you're meeting with Wilson next week Tuesday morning? Tasha asked. I figured you might want to sit in. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The following months unfolded like a masterclass in professional karma. I began at Wilson Enterprise Solutions on Monday with genuine enthusiasm. Greg gave me the freedom to build my team and strategy from scratch, free from the limitations I'd suffered at Orion Tech. My first major task as business development director was to gear up for the Synnex meeting. When Tuesday arrived, I walked into the conference room with confidence and greeted Tasha with a warm hug before transitioning seamlessly into my presentation. 2 hours later, we had outlined an agreement. $45 million over 5 years, slightly less than the Orion Tech deal, but backed by far superior technology and implementation support. News of Synnex Holdings signing with Wilson instead of Orion Tech traveled fast. Soon my phone was ringing off the hook as industry contacts called, curious about my switch and what Wilson could offer that Orion Tech couldn't. I never badmouthed my old employer. I let the facts speak for themselves. Orion Tech had fired me immediately after I secured their biggest ever contract, and then lost that contract when the client discovered I was gone. It became a cautionary tale whispered about at industry conferences. 3 months into my new role, I received an unexpected LinkedIn message from Philip. Danielle was let go yesterday. The board cited the Synnex disaster and failure to retain key talent. Thought you'd want to know. I felt a flicker of satisfaction, quickly followed by concern for my former team. How are things there? I replied. Tense. Stock is down 30% since the Synnex news and there are rumors of layoffs, he said. I didn't celebrate, instead I sent Philip a note. If you're interested in a change, Wilson is hiring. We value results over pedigree here. 2 weeks later he joined my team, the first of several talented Orion Tech employees who made the move. Within months, Wilson Enterprise Solutions had grown by 150%. Our client roster now included 3 former flagship accounts from Orion Tech, including Synnex Holdings. My team, 15 strong and growing, was a vibrant mix of backgrounds, educations, and experiences, united by determination and a client-first focus. I had just wrapped up our quarterly planning meeting when my assistant told me Greg wanted to see me. I found him in his office, reviewing financial projections with a look of quiet satisfaction. The board meeting went well? I asked as I took a seat. Greg looked up with a grin. Extremely well. We're on track to surpass Orion Tech in both revenue and market share by Q3, ahead of all projections. And it's largely thanks to you and your team. He slid a folder across the desk and added, That's why I wanted to discuss this with you first. Inside was a draft press release announcing my promotion to Chief Revenue Officer, effective immediately. I was genuinely surprised. Greg, I don't know what to say. He replied, Yes, you've earned it. You transformed our sales organization, brought in top talent, and landed accounts we couldn't even get meetings with before. I smiled, reflecting on how different this moment felt compared to my last executive experience at Orion Tech. As I left Greg's office, my phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. Have you seen the news about Orion Tech? Curious, I did a quick search. Headlines revealed that Orion Tech had announced a strategic restructuring, following 4 consecutive quarters of declining revenue. Jonathan Pierce was stepping down as CEO, and the company was seeking a buyer. I felt no joy at their downfall, only a sense of professional vindication. They had prized pedigree over performance, connections over competence, and looks over results, and the market had simply corrected their error. That evening, I walked past the Ohio University diploma hanging proudly in my new corner office. I couldn't help but smile at it. A reminder that success isn't about where you start, but where you finish and who you become along the way. 2 of 2.